This is you, and these are your three best mates. You've all decided to move out and rent a house together. But before you can do that, you need to know your rights and legal obligations as a tenant. Because tenancy law is different from state to state, it can be difficult to know what laws apply. But there's a few things you and your friends can do before you start renting that can make the process of getting a house in Canberra simpler. Let's fast forward a few weeks. You've found a house online, inspected the property, and put in an application, and you've just received an email that you've been offered your dream house. Firstly, congratulations, but before you get too excited,
There are 3 important things you need to know about
before you can move in. 1. Sign a tenancy agreement. 2. Pay your bond. And 3. Do a condition report. When you receive an offer to rent a house, you should receive a tenancy agreement. A tenancy agreement is a contract between the tenant and the landlord, and when you sign it, it becomes legally binding. A tenancy agreement can be oral, but it's recommended that you get a written tenancy to make sure you and your landlord both understand the terms of your lease. There are 2 main types of tenancies: fixed term tenancies, when you agree to rent a property for a set period of time, like 6 months or 12 months. And there are periodic tenancies, when you rent a property
3 weeks at a time.
at the end of the fixed term tenancy. If you continue to stay on the property, it moves to a periodic tenancy. Regardless of the style or form of your tenancy agreement, you're protected by what's called a standard lease. The standard lease contains 100 terms that apply to all tenancies in the ACT, and if one of the terms of your tenancy agreement is inconsistent with the standard lease, they're not enforceable. At the beginning of your tenancy, you may be asked to pay a rental bond to your landlord or real estate agent. They are required to lodge your bond with the Office of Rental Bonds and provide you with a receipt. Bond can be anywhere between 0 and 4 weeks of rent and acts as security to ensure that you fulfill your terms of your tenancy. It can also be used to pay for any damage you may have caused while living in the house, but
Your landlord cannot claim things out of your bond for things that are considered fair wear and tear.
once you get your keys to your property, you need to do a tenancy report. Your landlord and real estate agent are required to give you a condition report within 1 day of moving into the property, and you have 2 weeks to return it. It's important to take photos or videos of your house and note down any damage to your property and mark it on your condition report, because the condition report acts as an agreement between you, the tenant, and landlord to the state of the property when you move in.
If your landlord doesn't provide you with a condition report, you can make your own.
You've moved into your house and things are going well, but your roof starts leaking. The first thing you should do is tell your landlord. Your landlord is required to make non-urgent repairs within 4 weeks, and make urgent repairs such as dangerous electrical faults, gas leaks, or a leaking roof as soon as necessary. But your landlord is not required to fix damage that you've caused by negligent behaviour. If the damage to the property has significantly impacted your ability to use the property or damaged any furniture, you should consider asking for a rental reduction from your landlord. And if your landlord refuses, you can go to ACAT,
Australian Civil and Administrative Tribunal,
to get a rental reduction. But what happens if it's not just a leak and your whole roof caves in and causes flooding? As a tenant, you're able to terminate a tenancy within 2 days' notice if the property is not fit for habitation. A property will be unfit for habitation if the damage to the property makes it unsafe to live in, or the property is inconsistent with community standards of what is reasonable for a comfortable house, such as not having access to a working toilet, no electricity, or not having access to a working kitchen when a kitchen is present. There are a lot of myths about renting in the ACT, but one thing we need to clear up is subtenants and subletting is not legal in the ACT unless you have written permission from the landlord that a subtenant could live at the property. And if you're an unauthorised subtenant, it will mean that you don't have any legal protection from being evicted or rental increases. So, if you're moving into an already established share house, make sure you have written permission from your landlord that you can be a subtenant there. There's a myth in the ACT that you can leave your tenancy at any point if you give your landlord notice, which isn't quite right. If you're in a periodic tenancy, which means your tenancy is month to month, you can leave your lease if you give your landlord or real estate agent 3 weeks' notice. But if you've signed a fixed term lease and you want to move out before the move out date, you have some costs you might incur. Firstly, you made an agreement to stay until the end, so you'll be required to pay for any costs associated with finding a new tenant and pay for any loss of rent until your landlord can find a new tenant.
Since August 2017, tenants have been able to opt into a break lease provision when they sign their tenancy agreement that sets the cost of breaking a lease early. But regardless of the type of tenancy agreement you have, it's really important that you get legal advice from places like the Youth Law Centre or the ACT Tenants Union if you're thinking about breaking your lease.
But hopefully these aren't an issue that you face while renting in the ACT. Just remember that when you're ready to move out of the property, let your landlord know you're leaving, return your keys, and make sure you get your bond back.